What's up, everybody? I'm doing this video in in rebuttal to Charlemagne from the Breakfast Club, his stance. He keeps saying that America is a racist country, and he likes to put out that Tim Scott said no, Nikki Haley said no, Kamala Harris said no, Michelle Obama said no, and Jim Clyburn has said no, and he feels like America is a racist country. So the question is America a racist country? From a black perspective, I am going to say absolutely no. Absolutely not. Here's why. If you want to say, was America a racist country during slavery? Absolutely, 1000%. The way they treated their slaves, how they did raping and all that kind of stuff and mistreatment, yes. If you want to say during the civil rights movement, was America a racist country? Absolutely, 1000% that they were. Why do I say that during the civil rights movement? Because black people had to sit in the back of the bus. They had to drink out of specific water fountains. They couldn't come into certain restaurants. They had to go in the back. So there was a lot of things that they could not do that the United States government allowed. It wasn't until people like Rosa Parks, Dr. King, Malcolm X, Medgar Evers, people like that stood up and said this is wrong, that finally things that started to change. So if you're going to ask me in 2024, is America a racist country? The answer is no. Why do I say that? Because if you look at the things that my mother and my grandmother went through, I cannot say that the United States, because again, slavery backed by the United States of the government. During the civil rights movement, that was all backed by the United States government. Tuskegee, backed by the United States government. That type of stuff is not happening here. So some couple of things that he brought up was like unfair banking practice, unfair housing practice. I forgot what else he said, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's the United States. That's that bank. That doesn't necessarily mean it's the housing. That's that real estate company. I am a firm believer that happened to us. We had a lady come in. We were refinancing our home when rates were low, and she came and she lowballed us by $200,000. Everyone else in our neighborhood that refinanced, they were getting like 500K as far as the value of their home. She lowballed us by 200,000, and we were like, she came in the house, met us or whatever, and walked around the house. Our house is 5,000 square feet, and still lowballed us. So, and that had just came out in the news like 2 weeks, and I was like, wow, I can't believe that happened. So am I going to blame and say that it's America? No, I'm going to say it's that lady and that company that she works for, that she represents, that they can be racist. So I'm far aware that there is racism in the country. I'm aware that some companies may have racist practices, but I cannot say America as a whole is racist, because again, if America was a racist country, we would still not have the right to vote. We would still have to sit on the back of the bus. We would still have to go in the back of the restaurant. We would still have to be told where to live. I live in Apopka, Florida, where I believe it was 1920, black people used to live all over Apopka, and then at one day they just decided, nope, we want you to live in this one particular section in Apopka, and they've lived there, and I don't even know if they ever apologized for it. I'm 10 miles away from Ocoee, which massacred a lot of black people because they wanted to vote, and they stole their land. In Ocoee, where all this land used to be, is $1 million homes now. And they finally admitted to what has happened. So again, if you want to say then was America, because America didn't do anything about that type of stuff. And I mean, I think probably the problem is that we want everything just like that. We want the microwavable food just like that. We're not willing to put it in a stove to let it to cook, let it to simmer, let it to make sure that every avenue, every nook and cranny is cooked thoroughly and all the way through. Why do I say that? I think it was 2 years ago we went to Tennessee, and I don't know, at the last spur of the moment, we decided, well, let's go around Tennessee. So we started off at Knoxville, went to Chattanooga, then we went to Memphis, then we went to Nashville, then we ended up in Gatlinburg. But while we were in Memphis, we went to the Lorraine Motel where Dr. King was shot and killed. And going through that museum and seeing everything, there was a one section where we came into the lunch counter. and the buses, and they had it recreated and everything like that. And one of the things that they were talking about on that video was how Thurgood Marshall and a bunch of black lawyers painstakingly went and gathered all of the data to prove of the unjust educational system and segregation. They went and gathered all the data, and it took a while for them to gather the data. And then once they had the data and the facts, then they presented that data and the facts to the Supreme Court of the United States. And once they were faced with those facts, they had no choice but to overturn Brown versus Board of Education. They had no choice but to overthrow segregation, and they had no choice but to overthrow busing and the treatment of black America in this country. So again, I think if there is something wrong, I think we need to do our due diligence to point that very thing out. We want it quickly and we want it done just like that. But my thing is, gather that data, because the lie can't stand up tall against the truth. It cannot stand tall up against the facts. So I can't say that America is a racist country, because that would encompass everything. That would encompass the president. That would encompass the House. That would encompass the Senate. But yet we have black senators, Cory Booker, Tim Scott. We have a black vice president. We had a black president. We have black congressmen and congresswomen in office. So America can't be racist. When is it perfect? No, obviously it's not perfect. And here's the other thing. Charlemagne likes to always say black people are not a monolith, meaning that if one black person does something stupid or something, whatever, that doesn't apply to all black people. And you know the notion that all black people are lazy, they don't want to work, and they just want to be on welfare to get away from that or whatever. Well, if black people are not a monolith, then the United States cannot be a monolith, because we are all different. We are different parts and different things. If the United States would allow something, this stuff, like I said, redlining is one of the things that happened during the 60s or 70s, I believe. If that was still being allowed today, you got a very good argument America's racist, because they are allowing this to happen to underprivileged and black and brown people, whatever. But since that's no longer happening, again, I cannot say America as a whole. Are there certain aspects of where there's racism, like I believe it was in either South Carolina, maybe North Carolina, where they drew the lines, and the judge in the case was like, you didn't even try to pretend that you were not trying to do this, but you targeted all the black areas. And the judge struck that down, because they was like, literally, you tried to do this, and that was racist. But I can't say the whole country. You want to say the state of North Carolina? You can say the state of North Carolina or South Carolina, whichever state it was that did that to try to do the redistricting and all that was racist. But I can't say the America as a whole is racist, because America is not a monolith, like black people are not a monolith. I think if we just call out the very things that are wrong, bringing the data and bringing the facts, the truth will prevail. And there was a segment on The Breakfast Club when Nikki Haley said she doesn't want to raise our kids to think that America is racist. And Charlemagne was like, why not? Because, you're just giving the truth. And DJ Envy was like, yeah, you got to. No, because growing up, our parents did not bring us up that way. Our parents brought us up to say that, you know what, they showed us the truth that, things in this world is not easy for us, that people that look like us. But they encouraged us to still go out there and do our best to show them that we are just as good, if not better, than they are. And that was the driving force that brought up great doctors and lawyers and great athletes and Jackie Robinson. See, the problem is we want to fight fire with fire, but Jackie Robinson didn't do that. He held his peace. He had to hold his peace, because if he spoke out and did something at that time, it would have been all for nothing. But because he held his peace, he brought forth change in the Major League Baseball. Same thing, basketball, football, whatever. But my point is that I do not feel like America is a racist country. Do we have it perfect? No, absolutely not. We got ways to go to get rid of certain things. But to say it's racist as a whole, I think that's just flat out wrong. Because again, 2024, 1964, total big difference. Total big difference. And I think when we move on from that is how we go forward. And again, I feel like we as black people, we can't keep bringing up slavery. I feel like black people, we cannot keep bringing up civil rights movement because we've made progress. We can't always relegate, go back to that. Well, this, that, and the other. No, let's talk about now. Let's talk about how we can move forward. And we can never move forward if we're always concentrating, well, this is what you did back in 1964. This is what you did in 1864. We can never move forward if we're constantly going back. But if we focus on the now and what we can do now, show me what is wrong now. Why is this wrong now? How did we get to this point where it's wrong now? What can we do to move forward? That is it. That's where we should be at right now. How can we move forward? And again, if there's things that are wrong, let's point those things out. But I can't encompass all of the United States and say all of the United States is racist when I just found out today that the first senator, the first black man that was elected senator was in Mississippi of all places. Darn it, I just looked at it today and I forgot his name. But I don't think America as a whole is a racist country because black people are not a monolith. So Charlemagne, I think your point on that is totally 1000% inaccurate and wrong. And I get Nikki Haley's point about having her kids because, oh, it's a racist country. Then my child will never try to achieve anything because they're looking at it. They're going to basically grow up angry. And do I have the right to grow up angry? I could have grown up angry. Yes. I was in the park. I think it was Banning Park, Wilmington, Delaware. We was at a church picnic. White people did not want us there. And they chased us out of the park. We was with a church group. And they chased, I was probably like 5 or 6, me and my brother. These two big old white men started charging towards me. Because everything was like just going crazy and happening so quick. And all I remember is seeing these two guys coming near me and my brother. And out of nowhere, my mother came with a baseball bat. And I watched her hit one guy in the back of his back. And he went like this, grimaced. And then she hit the other guy and he grimaced or whatever. And she just kept on hitting. And then somebody grabbed me and my brother, and we got in the car, and I remember asking my mom, why did this happen? And she was like, because we're black and they didn't want us here or whatever. I can grow up angry at all white people for that happened, but that would be wrong to charge all white people with what a few white people did. So the same thing of charging all of America for what certain people did. Point out those things that are wrong and call them on the carpet. Get the data and the facts. That formula works. That formula works. That brought forth change in this country in the 60s and the 70s. That data that Thurgood Marshall brought, that data that Dr. King, Rosa Parks, all that data that brought forth to light the negativity that was happening to Black America during those times brought forth change. If there's change that needs to be happened, bring me the data. Show that data. So I just think that he's wrong about America as a whole. I still think America's the greatest country in the world because, I mean, a country where you can just say whatever you want to say, whether it's wrong or not. You still have the right to say that. But racist, no. We have, I forgot, even the highest military officer in the country is black. So again, the Tuskegee Airmen had to prove themselves that they can fly. The original Black Panthers from the Tank Patrol, they had to prove themselves that they had to do when they were not given the opportunity. But then once they got the opportunity, they proved wrong. They proved that they can do it and they can do it better than anyone else. Back then, yes, but now, no. Charlemagne, you're wrong. And if you want me to come on the Breakfast Club so I can debate you and we can talk about this in public for all to see, let's do this. I'm waiting for you. So peace. Have a blessed day.